was just not someone who can handle her. He's dependent on not losing his lane. He's dependent on actually usually getting ahead and snowballing. Nidalee is not someone to let that happen pretty much to anybody. There's very few people who can actually snowball against Nidalee. So Darius just was a weak pick against that. If they want to use him again, the ban would be solid, but I think Team Dynamic's much more ready for that Darius pick. And of course, no 2-0 advantage at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the case. Not starting off against a 2-0 Darius is always a nice thing. Even so, Zion Spartan was able to almost win that lane as Yorick, even though Darius had those advantages. That just goes to show, how much control Darius or Yorick has, but also how strong of a player Zion Spartan is. Once again, Katarina being banned out doesn't want to tempt fate. Honestly, I think if Dynamic had won game 1, we might have been able to see Katarina in game number 2. They would have just teased it out, but instead they're just taunting us. They won't let us see it.
There would have been a Blitzcrank, there would have been a Soraka somehow, like a mid-rocket just to kill Katarina. There would have just been like the anti-Katarina team.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah, if they pick Katarina, counter her like crazy, but why take the risk right now? Team Dynamic, they're confident, they just have to make sure that that last pick that comes out from Chuuper's Troopers isn't something that will just completely decimate them.
Yeah, so we'll see Zilean being banned out once again, so definitely a nice ban there. It was kind of weird because we didn't really see if Judy Monica played Zilean, but with the teams that they're running, Zilean definitely makes sense. We'll see who's banned. Orianna. So actually, Orianna gave them a lot of mobility in that last game, allowed them to kite very effectively. They were a little bit more survivable, so it was a really nice pick for Dynamic. But Nidalee is still open if they decide to go for that. Not as a first pick, clearly they'll hold off for a second. They could actually pick up the Sona instead of letting it go to Chuuper's Troopers, but maybe Darius actually.
Are they going to make a statement? Are they going to say, we can Darius better than you can? Like, game 1, they lose to Darius. Like, that's the big deal. Game 2, they really just crashed the Darius. Game 3, it's like, all right, now it's our turn to Darius. Watch us be better at you than Darius. Like,
I can do Darius better than you.
Huh?
I can do Darius better than you. Yeah.
I like that. I like that quite a bit. And I think they might make that statement, but then again, they're all full of trolls, and they might pick Shyvana instead. There we go. That makes more sense.
Yeah, Shyvana's definitely a nice safe pick, and it's Atlanta has been very comfortable with Shyvana. I'll be honest though, if Zion Spartan goes Darius and has the amount of lane control that he's had so far and is able to push around Captain America like he has been, then they could all of a sudden just dominate this game. I mean, if Zion Spartan, if he was abusing him like last game with Darius instead of Nidalee, then this is a completely different story. Or actually, I guess it would be the same story since they still won in dominant fashion last game. But going with the Pantheon once again, we'll see if that's going to be a top Pantheon or a jungle Pantheon like in game number 1.
Now, they have an interesting setup here. Vladimir can always go mid. Generally, he's going to be a top laner, though. I mean, the Ghost Heal really implies Captain America's going to run in top lane. But if they do decide, put Vladimir mid, we can put Pantheon top lane, they could have a really strong lane setup with that, where they just kind of bait out a bad counter pick from Team Dynamic. But Team Dynamic right now, they have a lot of control. I would expect Irelia to come out, just because Zion Spartan on Irelia, it's incredibly effective and can actually shut down Vladimir quite a bit. So what are they going to look for against that?
It's one of the most common matchups against Vladimir because you want against Vladimir, generally speaking, bruisers are great. You need someone that can kill Vladimir from 100% to 0. Irelia can do that. She has the burst initiation. Early levels, Vladimir can harass her a little bit, but then Irelia really quickly takes over. They will go with the Leona, though, so switching it up, not going with the Sona that had worked out for them in game number 1, instead going a little bit more aggressive. They have the AoE, going with the Vladimir and the Leona. We'll see what they're going with this pick. If it's going to be an Ezreal still, Ezreal does work well with Leona, or if they want to go with someone a little bit more AoE damage like Corki.
They want to go Leona Pantheon bot lane. Come on, do it.
Oh, I would love to see that. Pantheon, I'll be honest, have you played a lot of Pantheon bot lane? Or any?
I played a bit, but not a whole lot. What's your take on it?
Oh, I think it's a lot of fun. It's
Oh yeah.
I mean, he can shut down most AD carries with Q spam. You just constantly Q spam, and then you have a lot of burst damage. But an Urgot pick, so that's really interesting. I actually haven't seen. I don't know. How successful Chuuper has been in the past with Urgot, but it is a very strong champion. Can do very well against Graves. Though, generally speaking, Graves does very well against Urgot with the armor passive and then the quick dash to get out of that lock-on.
This is actually not a strong lane. It's not considered a good lane to have Leona and Urgot. They both kind of do the same thing, which is, do a lot of long-range initiation, be really and Urgot will poke. Like that is their big difference. Urgot pokes, Mr. Fishers has to go all in on Leona. It's really odd to see this because it tends to lose. Like this lane just
Hmm.
doesn't work out quite that often. And generally against a lane like Blitzcrank, you want to have someone who, if they get grabbed, can win a fight. So it makes sense that they would choose this lane, but the lane itself is not considered successful.
Mm. We'll have to see how that's going to kind of work out. I mean, it does have the issue that they're both offensive champions. Neither of them have a means of disengaging. So, if there's a fight that breaks out in Dynamic's favor, they're basically just going to die. They have to either fight it or die. But Zion Spartan actually going to be going with this Yorick pick, and then Cassiopeia for Paradoxical, one of his main champions, will be solid. And the big thing with the Cassiopeia is it is against this kind of AoE, or this short-range team with Pantheon, Urgot, and Leona, so the AoE will be nice.
We saw it work before. Can it work again? Annie versus Cassiopeia.
Yeah, no, it's, Judy Monica's go-to after Katarina. Katarina keeps getting banned. He's like, drat you, Dynamic, I hate you. But, so he will be able to go with the Annie. That should be interesting to watch. It's kind of a weird dyssynergy to a certain extent, what Chuuper's has, but I don't know if they can hook someone with Urgot, that could definitely work out for them. Like if they hook Cassiopeia, that's it. Like if they can get the swap on Cassiopeia and then follow up with their AoE damage on top of Dynamic, they could really quickly win those fights. So they have a lot of burst potential. They have the CC to follow up with it. It will be really interesting to see.
It's odd to say this, but the person who's going to have the most AD on Dynamic is going to be Nick Wu on Pantheon.
Yeah.
It's an odd team. Like there is no traditional AD carry, and that's common with it's Urgot. But I don't know. I think the bot lane is just very odd. They do have that amazing gank potential mid lane, but Vladimir, unlike Darius, he can't go bottom or mid lane very often. He's not that effective at a gank. All he can do is slow with pull, and the pull slow is going to be nice, but it's not reliable. There's no real distance closing in it. It's a very tiny and minuscule speed buff for Vladimir just to make the animation look nice, and that's all he has to close a gap besides Ghost. So I don't know if it'll work out in the end, but of course, the game hasn't started. We're going to see what happens.
Yeah, we'll have to see how successful Atlanta can be against Pantheon, because we talked about it earlier. Shyvana is a very controlling jungler, has the movement speed advantage over Pantheon, whereas Pantheon is a very slow jungler, generally speaking. I mean, he's not slow, but he can struggle. He gets kind of low. He uses a lot of mana. He loses a lot of health in the jungle. So if Atlanta can control that jungle some, counter him out some, and then be kind of aware of where he's looking for ganks, maybe get some nice counter ganks going, that could work out for them. Zion Spartan will try and control that top lane. Versus Vladimir, it's interesting because Yorick has the harass advantage earlier on, and then they're both kind of that same sustain lane. So is there a point in time that you think that Vladimir comes into his own in this lane? Because I've seen sometimes where Yorick can just steamroll Vladimir and just constantly have that ranged harass.
That's what I normally see, the Yorick steamrolling Vladimir. Like, if he gets ahead, Yorick actually trashes Vladimir just because he just does too much damage. So I've never seen a Vladimir just take a super dominant position, because in the end, Yorick always has that heal, and he's just so tanky.
Yes.
So if they do get into that fight, just the sustained damage from Yorick, just in general, Yorick, I think, has a lot of wiggle room in terms of falling behind. But Zion Spartan is not going to want to do that. We've seen it before. It's really hard to make him fall behind. And if he does, it's because you got a massive advantage. Vladimir is going to need, like the grand massive advantage to be a level 1 Zion Spartan versus like a level 20 Vladimir. That's right, 20.
Oh, wow. He's like a 3rd degree black belt Yorick. Can we? We'll actually have to start giving out prizes.
Yorick skin?
What's up?
Kung Fu Yorick skin?
Dear God, is that a thing?
It should be. I mean, I don't even know how to work. He could summon Kung Fu fighters.
And everyone would be Kung Fu fighting?
And they would be fast as lightning.
It was a little bit exciting.
It was also a little bit frightening, but Yorick is
a little bit frightening.
cool.
That's right. It was frightening.
I think they say both.
Oh, do they?
Maybe. I don't know.
I apologize. I need to be up on that.
I mean, modern music today, you got to keep up with Kung Fu fighting.
Yeah, but we'll see how they can do it. It should be a really exciting match. One thing that is going to be fun is they have a really Chuuper's has a really aggressive jungler. They can get the Pantheon jump onto Graves after the Urgot swap, and that's always cool when you have an aggressive jungler with Urgot. Basically, every single time that Urgot's ult is up, you can try and go for a kill. They have, plenty of damage. They have lots of AoE damage. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. But Dynamic, they do have kind of more standard comp, and if York can take control of the top lane, that kind of pressure could translate into the other lanes. I don't know, feeling a little bit of discomfort as Shyvana puts more pressure on them.
Now, one thing about Yorick, or not Yorick, but Urgot, his ultimate did get nerfed recently, so it only has, I think, 550 range at level 1, which is fairly low. So if they can stay out of range, which Graves is not amazing at, they will have the potential just to avoid that scary Urgot initiation. It's kind of weird, though, just because, I mean, it's just such an odd bot lane. It's out, like, if Leon and Urgot get ahead at all, I think they'll snowball like crazy and be unstoppable. If not, it just seems like they should flounder. Like, they just don't have the output they need.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. I mean, it is going to be kind of a concern because a lot of times you do see Urgot either with the mana sustain with Soraka, where you can just constantly, pressure them, or with someone like Janna, where you get a little bit more damage output. Whereas Leona is a kill lane, and Urgot doesn't have burst damage, which is why, like you're saying, it's not usually the most common matchup. But I don't know, a lot of heals for Troopers. That's, kind of interesting. And you talked about the heal on Vladimir. Just because he's going to be facing so much pressure from York. I'm kind of curious what kind of an item build we'll see out of him just to sustain against York and prevent a lot of that damage, and if that's going to throw him behind on the mid game.
Fun little Yorick fun fact, or not Yorick, but Vladimir fun fact. So Tides of Blood, people forget this. Every time you cast it, you get that stacking buff, and it does more damage, costs more health. People do remember that, but you also get more HP regeneration. So if you spam that and then use heal, you get actually a massive boost to that heal. It looks like they're going to go ahead and initiate onto Zig in the bot lane. Like, they don't really have someone who can catch someone outside a bush, though. Maybe Judy Monica with a flash. He should be able to actually just get out of this fight, though, unless he flash in and stun.
Yeah, he could go for the exhaust.
Wait, Mr. Fissures doesn't have flash, of course.
Yeah, so they will back off. Will be a pretty safe jungler. York's still going to be going top lane, so I'll be interested to see if we see York come more and more into play, because I'm kind of opening up to him. I'll be honest, hated him. I think Scar was the one we were talking to him. He was like, York is just a disease upon League of Legends and needs to be removed from the game. And I was kind of the same opinion because he was just so annoying to lane against. Then there came a point in time where you just don't feel like York does anything. Like, he's just such a boring pick. You just sit up top lane. You're like, yeah, whatever. I guess I'm going to play York this game. I don't even care. I'm hardly part of the team at all. They sit me in the outfield. I have to sit back and hope that someone hits a fly ball out here. But I don't know, starting to see the pressure that York can put is kind of interesting. And starting off with 2 mana potions for that mana spam will definitely be pretty nice.
York, I mean, he really is. He's not exciting. He will never be an exciting character, except that one time where he was bugged out and you can get like 400 death on your own team. He was really exciting then. But in general, he's not considered an exciting champion, but he's just very safe and solid, which... I mean, you got to rely on the safe solid. He can be effective. Oh, wow. It's so hard to shut him down. And
Atlanta trying to get this red buff, pulling it over to the bush, but Nick Wu skipping after the race, actually, so we'll see it. Atlanta sees him coming, will back off. And actually, if Nick Wu decides to go for this, he will get pretty low, so it could open up an opportunity for Shyvana to get back in there, but he will just back off there. Doesn't want to face the threat of Annie coming up, so we'll be safe. I don't know. We'll have to see how top lane will progress and whether or not Pantheon can put on any pressure to force back Sion Spartan.
They do know he's going to have his red buff now, so they're going to have that advantage of like Yorick knowing to play safely. And if you watch Sion Spartan, he's backing up quite a bit more now. Cassiopeia, kind of the same deal. They know that Pantheon can come from around that corner, which he's going to try and do right now.
Yeah, he is actually coming behind Paradoxical. Judy Monica walking up, has the stun, but missing it with the W. The flash out from Paradoxical will be fine. I'm really surprised that Judy Monica threw off an auto attack and then missed the W, because isn't the W shorter range than the auto attack?
Yeah, W does not actually have a very high range. Kind of an odd exchange. Captain America, though, getting fairly low in the top lane, and his Vladimir sustain isn't that good right now. Going to have to burn probably one more health potion to actually regain that HP. Pantheon does go top lane, but it's just a bit of pressure. No real kill potential. They knew he was coming. Sion Spartan, casually walked out of the gank. And in the end, a lot of time being wasted by Nick Wu. And if Pantheon does start falling behind, He has 9 CS.
Yeah. And that's a serious issue. Pantheon's early game can be really strong. People always look to his late game and are like, "Oh, Pantheon's late game's bad." But it just depends on what your role is. And if he doesn't have a strong early game, then yeah, his late game's going to be bad. But usually you can snowball Pantheon into a late game assassin or into a late game bruiser and be really tanky. But his mid game fights will definitely be weak if he's not able to get off to a nice start.
The one advantage, by the way, for mid lane is that they did build up Flash, so they're not going to have to worry about it. Bot lane, actually, a lot of aggression going out from both teams. Pixel just taking a lot of just acid to the face. Zig, just shooting Chuuper in the face. Both teams really going at it. Don't know who's ahead. Chuuper's actually really low himself right now. Mr. Fidgers walks on out of there.
Yeah, and
actually goes back in though.
Yeah, so they will have to back off. The lock-on from Leona did give them an opportunity, but Chuuper almost going down. The hook back. Can Pixel pick it up? The first blood for actually Chuuper with the exhaust. They're able to grab that. So Pixel with the exchange. Definitely an advantage for Chuuper with the first blood, and then also only the support getting the kill. So Graves definitely behind him right now. They do take advantage of that Leona Urgot lane.
Top lane, Captain America actually forced out. Has to use his heal. The lane just is not that strong. Pantheon's here to gank, but it's going to push in. Zion Spartan doesn't really have a reason to push out unless he goes for the kill right now as he's doing. Pantheon does show up doing a lot of damage. The creep wave is there, but it has not aggroed down Spartan. Now it has so much damage actually going on him. Will it be enough? The pink.
Oh, but he has him zoned. He could get the Q. One more attack if he gets the pounce, but he's just going to have to back off. Zion Spartan getting the slow. Nikwu getting very low, but Annie coming around on the backside will be able to pick it up. Judy, Monica grabbing it. Actually, Nikwu coming back in. Will pick it up.
Pantheon being paid for his profession.
A baker?
A baker. He baked York to death. I mean, I'm trying to think of how that makes sense. It really doesn't.
It's like Spaceballs. He ate himself to death.
York did get fed a spear in the face, which is a pretty good way to get fed to death. And a great start for Chuuper's Troopers. Only had 500 gold, and Vladimir, he's now in a position he's going to farm up. Is he close to his revolver? Let's see how far he is. He's got 53 gold. Oh, he bought a Cage's Lucky Pick, actually. So he's going for just GP5s, expecting not to do well early on, really going for a mid to late game. And Pantheon's just going to try and guide his team there. We do have Paradoxical and Atlanta both trying to counter jungle, trying to catch somebody out there. But, I mean, Pantheon, what's he doing? He's ganking. He's really not doing that much jungling and wasn't even close to wolves.
Yeah, and actually they ping off the ward, so really nice job from Paradoxical keeping an eye out. Atlanta, has been doing a really nice job so far. Is significantly ahead of Pantheon right now, but he's catching up a little bit. We'll see how he can do with that double Dorans build. Again, going the double Dorans, it makes him a little bit more aggressive. The quick dash from Zig, able to dodge that Leona attack, but the double Dorans, it allows you to be a little bit more aggressive. It allows you to be very strong in the early fights, particularly at diving towers. And that's one nice thing about the Pantheon jungle with the shield, with some early health. You can tower dive very easily. So, that is the potential. But you do miss out on the dragon control with Cassiopeia and Shyvana, and then Shyvana grabbing the Wriggles. As long as Dynamic plays it safe and doesn't fall too far behind, they do have really great potential there. In the meantime, though, Nikwu is coming up in the top lane. Captain America throws off the ultimate, but Atlanta is here as well. They're turning it back onto him. The exhaust onto Nikwu. Atlanta will be able to chase them down. Zion Spartan with the pressure as well, so they pick up the kill. Captain America has to back off. Annie is up here, though, as well. Annie has Tibbers. If they can get it with the flash, Atlanta is very close. The flash, the Tibbers. There is the kill. One more Q is able to get it. But actually, can Zion Spartan chase this down? Atlanta, the ghost of Atlanta at the very least, the ghost of Bob Marley, trying to come in for Judy Monica, gets the one kill. Coming on to Captain America, gets the second kill, and Zion Spartan is still alive.
Unfortunately, Vladimir used all his skills. Zion Spartan had about one hit left, but just no auto attack from Vladimir is ever going to hurt that much on Yorick. And I really just love the constant influx of mid lane to top lane this game. We see Annie go top, we see Cassiopeia go top. They're both just hanging out there just because that's where all the action is. And like giving up the farm time just to secure that early snowball. It looks like just with mid lane right now giving that kill to Cassiopeia, the farm advantage in favor of Cassiopeia. We see the gold just tilt barely in favor of Team Dynamic. This is a good situation for Team Dynamic. Like this is what they want to be in. Equals good for them because they have a Yorick. They're going to have a really good late game. And Annie's going to be a bit predictable if they do start going for those team fights. Yeah, and remember Game 1, Cassiopeia versus Annie, by the 8-minute mark, Paradoxical was 0-3 or something like that. So, clearly a better situation for them right now. I mean, Paradoxical not dying nonstop is always a good situation. Really, he's entering a point in the game where he will be almost more effective than Annie at CC if he can just get a good ultimate off. Like, his damage will be higher and more sustained. He has a lot more potential than Annie, and that's kind of the problem Annie faces. She doesn't get that much damage in the end. She gets really great bursts, but the sustain and burst from Cassiopeia will be just as comparable.
Oh, and Cassiopeia also has kill potential without using the ultimate. So if Annie's ultimate is down, or it's just one kill, then Judy Monica has to make the decision. All right, do I use my ultimate here, and then all of a sudden I'm weak for the next minute, or do I go for the kill? I mean, obviously go for the kill, but the point is Cassiopeia has that damage potential without using it.
I mean, up in the top lane, like Captain America, his laning was great. He still has a massive CS advantage, but I wonder if you can keep holding this. If you can keep that CS just push into the turret, that's going to give chance for Zion Spartan to just have to farm under his turret and not really let him push out and harass. So that might just be what he goes for nonstop. And of course, Shyvana doesn't actually have a very strong gank against someone like Vladimir, just because that pool and that ghost can be enough mobility to actually get him away.
Yeah, so we'll see where they can start putting on some pressure. Urgot actually going with the Doran's shield along with the Doran's blade, which is very unusual. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Because it just doesn't seem like they're going to have enough damage if they're going for that kind of a defensive build.
It could just be an offensive build in the end, I guess. Like, normally you just rush a Brutalizer because it really hurts, but they just want more tankiness, I guess. And if they can get into a really long sustained fight, it might work out, but their poke is much more laughable right now. It hurts, but not that much.
I would just be concerned that without the two Dorans, or without enough damage, Zig, if they can't burst someone down, then Zig would just be able to easily win those longer exchanges just with his AD potential versus Urgot, despite how strong Urgot can be early in the game. But they are actually going to push up this tower. Pantheon ulting down bottom, though. Leona with the ultimate onto Zig, and there's the follow-up, the quick burst. Zig getting very low, will go down almost immediately. Judy Monica is here as well. The exhaust on Pixel, so they're trying to chase him down. Oh, and there's the stun.
Can't escape from this.
Yeah, so he's going to go down actually any second now, almost getting out, but does go down. They will have to back off. And they could go for Dragon here, try and take that gold advantage early.
Captain America actually in top lane, down to 100 HP, pushed out by Yorick. And they should just go for this Dragon. There's only 2 people who can threaten them. They have to make sure Deadlanta does not get that spine off. If so, that's 1,000 gold that they could have going to their enemies. And I like the Pantheon play. Like you mentioned this before, how they use Pantheon as a top laner and he constantly run bottom. That's why Pantheon's good as a bot lane ganker. Just there's so much CC that most teams will normally have to supplement him, keep people in place. His ultimate on its own can do how much damage is that on its own? It can do 400 damage. Like, that's actually a really good nuke.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's also since they changed his ultimate and made it a much wider AoE, I don't think people recognize that you actually get that damage, whereas you used to, it used to be completely inconsequential. It had no impact on the fight.
I think it used to actually be impossible to get max damage on his ultimate. Like, it was no way you could actually do it. Now it's pretty likely. The minimum is only half. So 200 damage base coming from that ultimate, followed it up with the rest of his nukes and someone like Leona or Urgot backing him up. It's amazing, actually.
Yeah, I have to say, though, right now, Zig doing a nice job against Urgot. It is a pretty even lane. Urgot now has that Brutalizer, and that's where you want to hit. So he will have the damage output. And with the Doran shield, he will be incredibly tanky for dueling with Zig. So a nice little turnaround there. But we'll have to see. The movement speed advantage could help them out. And then Graves is always one of the best champions at controlling waves, just by the fact that he can insta-clear it. He can constantly push them into the tower and be pretty safe as long as he keeps an eye out. Tower going down, so they get bottom lane. They can try and snowball that to the other lanes.
Now is their time to roam. Unfortunately, Dragon is down, so they can't kill mid and take it. But actually, now would be a really good time. Maybe swap top lane, have Yorick go bot lane, just because Dragon is down. They don't have to worry about the enemy team taking it, and Yorick should be able to farm pretty safely actually against someone like Urgot, just because he has that decent range. And Vladimir will not be safe against Graves Blitzcrank. He gets pulled in, he should die.
Yeah, so we'll see whether or not they can do that. Judy Monica getting harassed out by Paradoxical, though, without that advantage where he can just constantly go for kills. Paradoxical does win the harass exchange there and is up way ahead of him on CS. Zion Spartan, in the meantime, though, Vladimir's did a really nice job, keeping ahead. And even with the 3 assists that Zion Spartan has, he's able to sit back. He did get that Cage's pick a while back, so he's able to farm a little bit more successfully. But still, he has to constantly deal with that massive, just nasty Yorick harass.
The one nice thing about Vladimir is every time Yorick uses a ghoul, he can always back off and sustain off that ghoul. So his harass is not 100% effective because it gives him a chance to heal. Same thing with Nunu versus Yorick top lane, by the way. If he summons a ghoul, you eat it. So it's not the best harass in the world, but it is quite effective.
Oh, but the hook from Pixel onto Chuuper, they're actually going to turn it around a little bit, but the quick burst from Zig, they will be safe. They can actually dissuade that. Yorick getting some nice damage on Captain America. The Ghost is forced out once again, so he doesn't have that kind of escape. And I don't know, I'm curious whether or not they'll force it. I think because it's Pantheon, because of that mobility, they don't want to go for a tower dive, but I feel like with that Ghost down and with Captain America low, they could almost tower dive him. And I understand it's Vladimir. You never want to tower dive Vladimir. But with Shyvana, I feel like they could do it if it weren't for the fact that Pantheon has that global presence.
I believe Pantheon's ultimate takes about 4 seconds to fully channel. I want to say that. So Vladimir's pull will be 2 seconds of immunity. If they don't kill him in a 2-second window, Pantheon will be there to back him up, and that's going to be the scary part. So they have to be fast, they have to be efficient. If not, they're under turret, they're slowed, they're Vladimir ulted, and they might just die to the AoE in that case. So I can understand their fear at the same time. If they shut down Vladimir, which you really want to do pretty much every game, that'll be a huge blow to Chuuper's troopers.
And so they will back off here for a second. Annie, doing a nice job getting farmed, but constantly has to deal with Cassiopeia. And Cassiopeia going for Riley's build, will have a little bit more CC, which is something that their team kind of lacks right now. They have the pull from Blitzcrank, but they don't really have that kind of follow-up. But then also the bigger issue is that Cassiopeia is going to be tanky enough to maybe survive through the quick burst that Annie has, and then turn it around on her and be able to get off her combo as well.
Nick Wu, by the way, up in top lane, walked up to the brush that they had Zion Spartan hiding in, used his Heartseeker Strike just to do the damage and hear the sound effect, and he knew that Zion Spartan was there in the end. A nice little trick. Blue buff is being secured by Chuuper's troopers, goes to Judy Monica. And I think the problem Annie's having right now is that Cassiopeia is dealing with her too well. Look at the CS advantage in favor of Paradoxical.
Yeah.
46 CS right there. That's a lot of gold. That's about 1,000 gold at this point, just in farm. So that's going to be the problem that Chuuper's troopers has to deal with. Annie just, she's not considered an amazing laner, and it is showing here. Not quite as badly as it was last game, but there still is a definite advantage, not in favor of Chuuper's troopers.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that in Game 1, how Cassiopeia, assuming it's an even lane, not only does Cassiopeia have the range harass advantage, but you can constantly push in. I know we talked about it with Orianna at the least. You can constantly push Annie underneath the turret, and she doesn't have the best AoE clearing. She has her W, but other than that, she kind of struggles. So Cassiopeia gets that advantage. The quick flash out, missing the Timbers though. Leona is here as well. The turnaround from Paradoxical is able to get the stun off. Judy Monica going down almost immediately. Cassiopeia did go down as well too, but Ziggs is here. He's actually taking a lot of damage and will go down himself. The red buff is able to grab it. They're jumping on the Pixel here. Can they get the double kill for Nick Wu? One more attack, gets the triple kill. Pantheon turning it around. 5-1-2 now is incredibly strong.
And as that happens, we actually have Vladimir dying on the top lane to a gank from Yorick and Shyvana. So it is action all around, but what is going on as all that happens? Urgot just in the bot lane casually free farming. So that big creep wave should actually die to the turret once he kills it, and going to be overall a little advantage for Chuuper's troopers, as Nick was actually being pressured underneath the turret, tries to get out of there with his Aegis.
Oh,
and
but the
flash, the finisher. I mean, you just can't get away from Yorick sometimes if you're Pantheon.
Oh, Zion Spartan, can you go for it? Be a man. I believe in you. He has the double buff. One more attack. Another E, and he can grab it. Gets the double kill. Oh, just a delayed double kill. But still, he has the double buff. Really nice job there.
And what was actually a great fight for Chuuper's troopers. Now, not quite that great. I believe it still was equal in the end. 3 for 3, but that's, Yorick is just getting out of hand, actually. They don't have the sustained damage. Captain America actually in a really bad spot. His pool is still up, though. We'll be able to barely get out of there, but I mean, he barely escapes a gank, or not even a gank, but just an engagement with 240 HP.
Yeah, now they can pressure this tower. Atlanta will have plenty of damage there. Paradoxical zoning them off because he has the damage output. Judy Monica turning into him with the stun, throws off the Timbers, but the quick ultimate does go down. Atlanta able to pick up that kill. They can back out of there. Nick Wu not able to go in, so they're going to be able to grab the turret. They're going to be able to back out, and that's one of the best things about Cassiopeia when paired with Yorick is the fact that you don't necessarily need to ult your AD as long as Cassiopeia goes down. If Cassiopeia doesn't go down, then yes, it's a wasted ghost. But if Cassiopeia goes down, her sustained damage output after the Yorick ultimate is fantastic. Same thing with Karthus. It's a really common matchup for Karthus and Yorick.
And I mean, really, it's not that you need to have the ghost to do damage.
Yeah.
It's actually a great use of the mid-level ghost, because when it's not level 3 on his ultimate, it's not that effective. So use that level 2 ghost, put it on Cassiopeia, put it on just any sort of caster who has sustained DPS, and they'll be incredibly effective, because usually they tend to be the first ones to die. You want to go for the AD carry, but casters have to get a little closer for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, especially someone like Cassiopeia, who's playing right up close to the front line and is trying to get the AoE damage on the short-range team. In the meantime, Chuuper's Troopers, they grab the dragon, so they'll be able to take that, help pull up their gold lead, or sorry, pull into Dynamic's gold lead. So they're only 1k behind, but part of the issue is that they have a team that need to be ahead in the early game and need to be ahead in the mid game. They do have a situation here where they could maybe get the swap. The flash in from Chuuper gets the swap, the quick stun, the follow-up on Paradoxical, he does go down. Nick Wu does go down, though, so somewhat of an even exchange, but definitely Cassiopeia the more prime target.
The big deal here is they don't have any turrets down. So there's 4 turrets down for Chuuper's Troopers. They haven't killed a single one on Team Dynamic. Actually, Pixel trying to chase down Judy Monica, and he's not that fast. They should actually be able to close the distance. The ult comes out from Atlanta. Can you land the hook, Pixel? You want to land the hook. He gets hooked out. Judy Monica going low, does get picked off. Mr. Fissures and Chuuper are now in the fight, though. Pixel going fairly low himself, but looks like they will try and run now. Zion Spartan, we've seen him kill people in chase before. He can do it again. Getting him low. Will he die the turret?
Oh, he just has so much damage, and now actually Captain America coming in has the AoE. Nick Wu coming in, but actually missing the ultimate, not quite able to get it on there. Captain America very close to going down. One more attack from Zig, not quite able to grab it. Pantheon grabs Zion Spartan in the end, and then the double kill for Nick Wu. Can he get away? No, but now Captain America is very close to going down. Zion Spartan, just a couple seconds left on that ghoul, just can't quite grab it.
Only 2,000 gold lead right now for Team Dynamic, so low on Pixel and Atlanta. But just overall, like, these fights, they're right outside the turret for Chuuper's Troopers. They're not getting anything done with this. They actually lose their red buff in the process. They need to start getting turrets. They need to start getting those global objectives. Captain America, don't walk into that bush, Captain America. You will die if you walk into that bush.
Actually, I'm not so sure that he wouldn't win in this matchup. Atlanta has the damage, but with the pool and with, the AoE, he almost would have it. And Cassiopeia actually coming in, so now they have him trapped. The flash in from Paradoxical gets the slow, trying to chase him down, but he does have to deal with Leona, throwing off the ultimate, trying to get out of there, but Judy Monica turning it around, able to pick up the kill.
USA! USA!
USA! All right, there we go. That's exactly what they need to happen too. And if they can grab Paradoxical outside of these fights, and Paradoxical, gets lost somehow in the jungle, I guess he needs a map for where the lanes are in League of Legends, and his team is like, oh yeah, so stay in the mid lane or somewhere near us. Then maybe that's what he needs, but. We'll see. Zion Spartan trying to walk up, catches out Miss Fissures, actually could try and chase him down, and we have seen the chasing power that Yorick has.
Mr. Fissures actually just preemptively uses his heals like, you know what, screw it, I don't want to do this. And we actually have Baron wards being cleared out by Team Dynamic. They're looking for it, like they have the opportunity, but the problem is if they ever go for a Baron, they have to be very cautious, because Nick Wu can, dive in there and have a very easy chance at spiting. Imagine... let's see, I believe his ultimate, it still might be level 1. Actually, he does not level his ultimate, so still only going to be 400 damage. But imagine 400 damage plus the 700 damage smite coming in all at the same second. Well,
that was the coolest thing about old Pantheon was if you throw off the 1,000 damage ultimate, which was usually impossible to hit, or it might have actually been impossible to hit, because I remember it was like only the dead center. You could actually hit it on Baron, and so then you get the 1,000 damage real quick. Chuuper can actually chase down Zig here, but he does have the red buff, so he might actually be able to win this fight. But the quick damage, Chuuper has a serious advantage here, throwing off the swap, will be able to take it down, but Ziggs gets the flash out, trying to evade Mr. Fisher here. He can get the dash over the wall, so he's able to get himself out.
Judy Monica flashes over the wall, picks off Paradoxical, but the rest of the team has him up. Panther's gonna fan up the fight. Pixel then looks right on out of the fight. The Shirley is blown. Can they catch up to him? Pantheon flashes forward, stunts him. Pixel trying to run as fast as he can. The wheels.
Oh, so Pixel does go down. They're able to pick him up. Really nice job from Chuuper's troopers there. And I don't know, all of a sudden, they're putting themselves in a situation where they can maybe win this. 2 members down. They're just actually going to go for it. They want to force this. They want to get the Baron. They know they need to take a lead. This is one of their last chances. Yorick and Shyvana are here, but I'm not sure they can stop it by themselves. Zion Spartan trying to force them out, but will go down very quickly. They're able to ult him immediately. So Zion Spartan is grabbed. There is still the Ghost to deal with. He does stall for a little bit, but it's not going to be enough. They do have some nice AoE damage, though, if they turn it around. Graves coming up with the AoE as well. And now I don't know if they can go after this Baron, so Zion Spartan's sacrifice saving them this.
That one kill is nice, but in the end, like, you know, it's not a Baron buff. They don't control the game by killing Yorick. Judy Monica taken low in the end, but I guess Yorick Ghost might be worth it. But look what we have here. Atlanta just rushing towards Baron. There aren't any wards down. They can actually take this just because, you know what, they don't expect it. Like, they saw the enemy team retreat. Chuuper is here and is actually out of position now, so they might just go for the Baron. They might go for Chuuper. It's their decision.
Yeah, Cassiopeia has the ultimate. The Shyvana follow-up. Chuuper's very low. He has the GA still, but Captain America's the bigger issue right in the middle of the team. Will go down. Actually, just staying alive for a second. It felt like they just didn't want to give up the kill. They wanted like to feed it to someone, but Graves turning around. Can they pop the GA? Mr. Fisher's very low. Nick Wu coming in. They have to watch out for Judy Monica. She doesn't have the ultimate, but she still can do a lot of damage. And still Chuuper not pop. There goes the GA. Pixel way out of position, but it seemed like Dynamic should have had that fight, and just all of a sudden the turnaround. Pixel should be okay, but they still are, you know, in a dangerous situation.
I mean, Vladimir stayed alive for just like a half second too long somehow, and all of a sudden Paradoxical could not get near the rest of his team. They can't do better at this point. Just their team is too low. They have to go ahead, disengage, and you know, overall an equal fight. Gold almost dead even, and I don't really know who's going to have the advantage. Eventually, we're going to see Urgot fall off, but I mean, he was very effective in that team fight despite not having a frozen heart or just a lot of the items you normally expect to see on Urgot at this point in the game.
Yeah, so we'll have to see, you know, how Dynamic can turn this around, because I mean, they have the AoE damage. You know, they've got a lot of AoE magic damage. They have the late game potential that Zig has. He's pretty deep into his build. He has a Bloodthirster as opposed to an Infinity Edge, so not quite as much damage, but you know, the sustain, it allows him to keep high in fights. That'll definitely be nice. But all of a sudden, Chuuper, they have this kind of swarming team, and they're just, I don't know, absorbing Dynamic into this mess of a fight, and Dynamic is struggling to find their way out of it. So, you know, we'll see if they can, you know, try and organize themselves a little bit better. It just seems like a lack of coordination from Dynamic. Like, they expect to win these fights easily, and then all of a sudden they're just realizing that they're losing 4v3 or something.
It took Atlanta about 15 seconds to find a ward. The Shirley is popped. They're actually going to just go for the fight. Here comes Pantheon ultimate, but he's going to go in more or less alone. Has to back off immediately, does so, and they should get out of that fight safely.
Yeah, and Pixel not able to grab the hook. That would have been a kill. Graves, he was pushing down bottom. He can transition up here, so they're fine to stall off for a little bit. Dragon is up, so Chuuper could, you know, transition to Dragon if they wanted to force a fight. But Pixel actually chasing him down, wants to see if he can maybe get an engage on someone now that Graves is here. I think as long as they keep Graves and Paradoxical alive, and they just have a full 5-on-5 fight, you know, Dynamic should still win these engages, and you know, they shouldn't be losing, at least as they have been. But we'll see. I mean, the engage from Urgot, the fact that he has longer range than Graves for the ultimate swap, that can definitely help him. And the fact that Captain America is doing pretty well for himself. I mean, he's pretty deep into his build. He has some nice cooldown reduction.
Captain America got to like a really scary point in the game, and at this point, Nick Wu, he really hurts. If they don't burst down Nick Wu, his Heartseeker Strike is actually devastating. He has a Last Whisper, he has a Brutalizer. It's like the enemy team has very little armor in the end, which is, I mean, that's exactly what you want as Pantheon. But his Heartseeker Strike right now, let's see, it does about 200 damage a second on a 5.4 second cooldown. So he can really just spam that like crazy. And if it works, it'll be devastating.
Oh, in the meantime, the Leona ultimate's actually able to trap him under there. The Cassiopeia ultimate trying to counter it out. Shyvana coming in. The awesome AoE damage from Dynamic. The anti-ultimate almost won them the fight, but Graves turning it around. They have the damage. They pick up the kill. The double kill from Shyvana. The dash over from Zig. He's actually not going to get it, so Nick Wu gets out of there. Chuuper's able to recall, but as a result, the Baron will be theirs. Zig actually did go down, but the Yorick ultimate was able to keep him alive. So they had, you know, the Zig Yorick ultimate. They had Paradoxical still alive. Now they can take this Baron. It is kind of a struggle because Paradoxical's low on mana, but no big deal. They're able to grab that, and then we'll see how they can continue to fight in this game.
He has a blue buff, you know, they get it in the end, and that was just an odd fight because both teams, they walked into each other, and we just saw the AoEs come out from both of them. The thing is, the AoE on Cassiopeia's ultimate in terms of CC is much wider. in the AoE for Annie. Like, Tibbers is easier to land overall, but Cassiopeia's ultimate will cover more distance, and more people got CC'd, more people got stunned, more people just got clustered by Cassiopeia, and that really won the fight. Had we seen Chuuper's a little bit more spread out, just a tiny bit more spread out, they would have won the fight. Or even if some of their players had turned around at the last second to avoid that Cassiopeia ult. But it didn't happen. A great fight from Team Dynamic. If they can just take advantage now and just stay into okay fighting positions, they will at best trade, or at worst trade, at best, you know, 8th the enemy team.
But the big thing was in that last fight, Troopers, you know, they smelt victory. They saw the original AoE, and like you said, they all clumped up for that Cassiopeia ult to turn it around. But I don't know, they thought they had enough damage to take it down. They just didn't quite have enough. Yeah, so we'll see, like you said, when they split up, how that'll work. With the Baron buff, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to defend, though. Graves is short range, though, so they can hold off a little bit there. But the issue is partially that they don't have a good AoE clearing ability. So if Dynamic keeps on transitioning from lane to lane and pushing lanes right up to the tower, they can easily get some damage. Coming in and just backdooring the bottom lane, they're able to take that very easily and then continue to pressure Troopers.
The best wave clear they have on Chuuper is going to be Pantheon Heartseeker combined with Annie's W, which is incredibly risky because you're really out of position when you do that. So they're getting so much damage on the turret. Of course, if they do get a good AoE initiation, guess what? They have York ultimate. Chuuper gets pulled and flashes out. There's Judy Monaco with initiation. Great season from Leona. But we do have Annie already dead. They take out Paradoxical. The ult has been used on York. Zig being focused by Nick Wu. Nick Wu does go down. And overall, Captain America being chased out. Troopers have to get out of that own base. Chuuper tries to swap in. Zig does go down, but the only survivor right now is Chuuper, and he's not really doing that much. Gets pulled out, does get taken down. Ace for Team Dynamic.
Yeah, really nice job. The quadra kill. I didn't even realize she was getting up that high. Really nice job, Atlanta, picking it up. Really impressive play. I thought that Captain America was going to be able to, you know, win that fight for them. They all got extremely low. Captain America was still very high, but just not quite enough damage. You know, just not enough to deal with them. And then Graves was just a constant threat and just hacking away at them. They have enough time, I think. There's very little time left. They're pressuring the Nexus. They have the turrets. Can they go for the next one? Judy Monaca is up, but doesn't have the ultimate. So actually the hook from Blitzcrank trying to pull her back. Can they grab it? Just backing off again. Actually, Judy Monaca grabbing the kill on the Pixel. Nick Wu is in hot pursuit. He has his ultimate. Oh, he's not chasing them down. Get the kills. I want you to get the kills. They're just a little bit too tanky for him.
I mean, he could try and get the kills, but he might actually just die horribly. So
a horrible death and fire and death.
Literally, actually, yeah, death and fire. What you'd be going up against with Shyvana and Yorick. But just a great fight. The Yorick Ghoul or Ghost for Zig, I think that's the big thing right now. They can't burst down Zig because he just comes back as dead. So with Yorick using his ultimate, they don't have the potential to just kill everybody at the same time. And when Annie ult is used, when Vladimir's ult is used, they just don't have enough follow-up right now. Urgot, he's not a traditional AD carry. He doesn't have the output Zig has right now. And you can see it on their team. Like, they're both walking into each other for the most part. Even if a grab starts a fight, both teams kind of clump up, charge each other. In the end, there's more AoE damage, there's more sustained damage for Team Dynamic, and they're surviving the AoE from Troopers. It's a better fight for them.
Oh, and Zig actually chasing down Chuuper. He'll be able to get out of there. So he is fairly tanky, but just not quite enough damage. They just, like you said, they don't have any sustained damage. And that's the issue with Urgot, which is, you know, when people talk about Urgot's weak late game, in certain team comps, you know, his late game is actually very strong because of how impossible he is to kill in a lot of situations. He's just absolutely unkillable, and he can shut down a lot of AD carries. And you know, that's usually why you see the Frozen Heart as opposed to the Guardian Angel. In this case, because they don't have any follow-up sustained damage, they don't have enough damage to deal with Dynamic, and so he's fallen off compared with Graves, who just has remarkable damage output at this point, finishing up that last Whisper.
I mean, really the problem is just the cooldowns on Troopers, they're just too high. They cannot deal with just the sustained damage, and if they try to fight any consistent fight, they go down. But this is just a grouping phase of the game. They can't get a split. They can't really get a pick. Like, how do they defend this turret? With Annie ult,
oh, and they have the AoE Blitzcrank with the pullback onto Chuuper, but it seems like Dynamic has this one. Chuuper's not able to quite get in there, but Captain America turning into him. Mr. Fisher does go down. The double kill, the pop-up from Pixel, and then getting out of turret range. Shyvana chasing him down. Yorick actually able to pick up the kill into Judy Monaca. Captain America, the last one to go down, but there's the ace. Zion Spartan very easily. The entire team, they're able to pick up those kills. They're just way too tanky for Chuuper Troopers to deal with. They don't have enough damage at this point. The inhibitor will go down. When the minions are up there, they'll be able to pressure the Nexus, and then Dynamic will win this game. This is round one of this elite tournament. This is our elite league. I mean, I'm just absolutely thrilled to death that this is a round one matchup. We're going to have just so many more of these to come.
I want to see Troopers so much more. I love watching them play, but in the end, on Team Dynamic, they came through. They reached that sweet spot with their composition. Just their item builds, the Yorikos, like their team as a whole was so effective. So they played well. I'm going to be so hyped to see them in the next round.
Yeah, definitely a really nice match for them. This is the men who dream during the day. They are dangerous men. Sorry, I had to throw off one quote there real quick because I promised someone. But really nice play. Atlanta 13-1-9, and a lot of times Shyvana can fall off towards the late game. Shyvana doesn't really do as well with heals as some other champions, but mid-game, she's phenomenal, and there was no fall-off with Atlanta. He was just a tanky body right up front. Troopers could never kill with them, and then his AoE damage was just able to easily control. Really awesome play. Atlanta has looked fantastic tonight. I am really excited to see how Dynamic continues to play.
So we will see Troopers, just not in the elites anymore.
Yeah.
They and anybody who lost in the first round of elites are actually going down to the challengers bracket, which I believe anybody can enter. Am I right?
So I'll pull that up and take a look at it. Yes, the challengers bracket is completely open. It's an open tournament. So that is the setup here. That is what we are going for. It's basically for anyone who's interested in StarCraft. Let me pull this aside real quick. Anyone interested in StarCraft, it's like a Code S and Code A system, basically. That was what I was going for. But basically, here it is. If I can pull it over. There you go. Not as zoomed in as I was like, so I'll go with the large. Can I go with the large? Oh, that's right. This isn't challenge, but there you go. Couple of steps back. Elite qualifiers. We have 16 teams invite. So they're going to be playing out this bracket. I don't remember the exact prize. I think it's $3,000. But so we have these invites. It's nice because we get to get TSM back in our tournaments, which is what we've been waiting for 6 months now. But then the qualifier, the open challengers bracket. It's completely open. If you have a good team that you want to get in, go ahead and do it. Studio, I was actually talking to AJ and Nick. I was telling them earlier that you want to enter with your team.
Yeah, totally. I was actually put that in my stats. Like, hey, man, maybe I should form up a team, enter, see if I can't bring back my old 2000 ELO support skills, which have deteriorated over time so much.
Well, basically, the way it'll work, the losers of this tournament, of this Challengers tournament, or I don't remember the exact number. I think it's the bottom 8. So the people who are out of this first round, they're relegated down to the Challengers. If they decide to re-enter, they can go to the Challengers. Then the winners of the Challengers, the top bunch, they're invited into the next tournament. So there's the open tournament, which has its own prize money and everything, and then you get up into the upper brackets. Definitely a cool system, and we'll make sure to showcase you the best way we can. You get to show off to your friends and everything. It's a really cool system, though. I'm really excited about it. We get to see some awesome matches. This is just round 1.
And I believe round 2 should be starting next week. The first match is going to be, if I'm looking at the schedule right, CLG Black versus TSM. Yeah,
it's definitely going to be an exciting match. We have a couple, actually, this week that we still need to play, so we'll figure out how we're going to handle that. But anyway, thank you, Studio. Definitely was a pleasure. Any closing thoughts? What are your thoughts on the matches earlier today?
I mean, they were amazing. I would gladly watch these games again. And, if this is just round 1, round 2 is going to get so much better.
Yeah, it was definitely exciting. I'm really happy that everything has gone so well. I actually need to check back in a second. I will be able to get you guys some information because we may or may not have information on the RP giveaway on Facebook. We have been running that. If you guys have been going to facebook.com/IGN Pro League, I'm not sure if that's still open tonight, but I'll have to check that for you real quick. Regardless, we will be going to a commercial break. We will head off and then have rebroadcast up for you guys. Studio, how can they find you on Twitter, YouTube, wherever?
So you can go to Twitter, go to /League of Studio, @League of Studio. Your call. I won't judge. And you can follow me on Twitter there. You can also go to leagueofstudio.com. I do a LoL series where I just kind of look at high-level replays from games like this, actually, break them down, focus on a champion, see if I can't, just get a bit more League of Legends knowledge out there.
Awesome. Thank you. It was an awesome evening. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll be back right in a second with a commercial after a commercial break.